This is Ottawa Now with Evan Solomon, live from Ottawa City Hall.
Welcome back to City Wednesdays. Love being at City Hall. We got a lineup of counselors, but I'll tell you who it's a real pleasure to welcome. Marc Emery. He's known as the Prince of Pot. You know him. We talk to Jody Emery all the time. He's the owner of Cannabis Culture. He's a marijuana activist. He spent time in prison. But since then, the world's changed. The Liberal government under Justin Trudeau is going to legalize marijuana, but in the meantime, they're still cracking down on it. But just today, a bit of a bombshell. Marc Emery, many people would think, well, he's going to work with the Liberals. They're the pro-pot party, aren't they? No, he's actually backing a guy named Maxime Bernier. Maxime, of course, been on this program many times, running to be the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. Well-known libertarian. Why is Marc Emery backing him? Let's find out. Joining me now, Marc Emery, Cannabis Culture owner, marijuana activist. Marc, great to have you on the program.
And thank you for inviting me.
Why have you decided to back Maxime Bernier?
Because every single policy position he takes, and by the way, I agree with every one of them. I've never actually seen a politician like that. But all of them rely on both our Constitution and free markets. And I am a libertarian. I mean, a lot of people would consider a libertarian a conservative. And I've been waiting for a conservative candidate in this country for 30, 40 years who wasn't anchored to all these backwards social conservative things that are settled policy, like abortion, like same-sex marriage, this sort of thing. He's looking into the future. He wants free trade within Canada. He wants to deregulate airlines so we can have more competition in the country. Even our maple syrup, he wants to see more competition. He wants to change the CRTC regulations about media ownership. I agree with everything he stands for, ending the supply management system in this country. Actually, I don't even know what his position on marijuana is, but I don't care because for me, Maxime Bernier represents a long-term future on all the issues. Like I said, I've never met a politician whom I agree with every single policy announcement that's on his webpage as he seeks the leadership of the Conservative.
So you don't even know. I mean, he's a libertarian. You don't even know his position on pot.
But you know what I do know? He's very consistent. Every single thing on his policy page is consistent. There's no like jumping all over the map and picking and choosing. Once he's chosen open markets, free trade, let's respect the Constitution, everything he advocates follows that. And that's exactly how I believe this country should be governed.
You're fundamentally a libertarian too.
Oh, yes, I'm a very Ayn Rand acolyte. She's the most influential philosopher in my life. I read her starting in 1979. I read every work by Ayn Rand and all the great neoclassical thinkers, Ludwig von Mises, Friedrich Hayek, Murray Rothbard. I'm schooled in all these things, and this has been my life's passion for 35 years.
Isn't that amazing? A lot of people think that Marc Emery would be some kind of, a left-wing thinker, but the truth is you're about as when you talk about Ayn Rand, that's about as, there's no Atlas Shrugged there. There's no shrug. You're certain. You're dyed-in-the-wool libertarian.
And Maxime is a handsome gentleman,
subjective.
and he's articulate and bilingual, and I look at it and I go, what's not to like about this guy? People say, well, why did you support Justin Trudeau and the Liberals? I said, because as the leader of the cannabis movement, it's my obligation to put our support behind anyone who represents our issue, and Mr. Trudeau did that, and the Liberal Party is going to follow through. Now, we have our arguments with them about how legalization should progress, and that's why my civil disobedience continues, because I want people to see my example, which is stores that sell marijuana to anyone 19 years of age or over in major centers. I want that to be what legalization looks like. But obviously the Liberal government and I may have difficulty agreeing on these things. But to me, legalizing cannabis is a settled policy too. And I bet Maxime Bernier, and like I say, I don't know, I bet he has a very good nuanced position on how that should be also a free market.
Are you going to campaign for Maxime Bernier? Like, are you going to would you join the Conservative Party? Because this is a membership driven race. If you want his view, that means you got to join the Conservative Party as a member and vote for Maxime Bernier. Will you do that?
Well, what I've done is given $60 to his campaign, and I'm going to a $400 dinner, and I hope to just meet the gentleman for a few minutes, maybe just 30 seconds, and hear him speak, hear him in person, and get a sense of the man. So I'll be giving money to his campaign, and absolutely I will join the Conservative Party in order to vote for him for leader. I've never been as enthusiastic in my whole life And I've met Jack Layton, and I've met many of the leaders of this country and the prime ministers over the time, including Paul Martin and others, and I have never felt so comfortable with a point of view expressed by a person seeking the leadership of one of Canada's major parties. So I'm excited. I'm excited about Maxime
I can hear
Bernier.
it.
I think he can do lots for us.
Maxime Bernier is his candidacy for the Conservative Party leadership, where they're having their caucus in Halifax right now, is something that Marc Emery, cannabis culture and marijuana activist, is very much a part of. In the meantime, let's just get down into the weeds, as it were, no pun intended, because stores that you own keep getting busted.
I expect myself to be raided or busted imminently, but that's all part of my process.
Is that right? Because in the meantime, the Liberals are saying they're going to legalize, but in the meantime, the law has no shades of gray. What is illegal is still illegal until it becomes legal. But you basically said, well, it's going to be legal, so you've interpreted the law as what will be legal in the future should be legal now, so they should not be enforcing the law, and yet they're doing that.
For 48 years, they shouldn't have enforced an unjust, bad law. Today is no different than 10, 20, 30 years ago. That always has been wrong. We should have never had this bigotry placed against us. 2 million Canadians have been arrested and given criminal records, and many hundreds of thousands, like me, have spent time in prison for it, all of which was immoral, wrong, and completely unjustifiable. And it's completely unjustifiable today. Should a government put a moratorium on arrests? Of course they should. Is Mr. Cho being hypocritical, having passed marijuana, smoked marijuana, and yet continues to arrest others who weren't as lucky as him? Yes, he is being hypocritical. That's not unusual for politicians, and I don't necessarily have an animosity against him because of that. They have a lot of dirty water to swim in with all the different things that push and pull at them. So I respect the process, but the process to me also involves citizens expressing their point of view about what legalization should look like in a form of civil disobedience. That's what I do. I expect to be arrested soon. I expect to go to
expect
jail.
To be arrested soon and go back to jail?
Oh, absolutely. I'm right on a main street here in Toronto selling marijuana to anyone 19 years of age or older.
You don't care. So if I walked into your shop and I said I need an ounce of pot, I could buy it from you?
Absolutely. It would be the best pot you'll ever see in your life, too. We sell only the best. Everything is made in British Columbia at all shops of cannabis culture because British Columbia makes the best marijuana. The secret is in the water. Our water that comes from the rain reservoirs is different from the Ontario water, which is used to grow marijuana here, which comes from Lake Ontario, which is recycled through the Toronto water cleanliness system. So it's not as good, and you can see the difference.
So let me ask you something. How much pot do you guys sell a day out of cannabis culture in Toronto?
Well, typically my store would sell about $8,000 to $9,000 worth of pot.
Wow.
And we collect the HST, too, so don't ever say that we don't collect taxes. We collect the taxes.
So you pay tax on stuff that's illegal to sell?
Oh, yes, they insist. And just like you have to pay
you sell pot, it's illegal, and then you pay the government the tax on it, and but they could arrest you, but they don't give you back the tax money.
Well, of course, that's the hypocrisy of this whole system. They can arrest a Canadian for essentially living under the Constitution. I mean, the Constitution guarantees that cultures like ours should be respected if they're peaceful and honest. And marijuana is a peaceful and honest culture. We're good people. We shouldn't be punished. And finally, this correction is going to happen in the next few years. But it's a terrible tragedy. We continue to be arrested and disrespected. I think in Ontario, the Solicitor General of Ontario has ordered all these arrests so they can thin out the herd, as it were, have less competition when they decide to bring in the LCBO model that they're so excited about here in Ontario.
Well, this is it. I got to go, but Mark, I'm going to have you back on because a lot of this is the pre-industrial shakedown. Should independent operators like Cannabis Culture and Marc Emery be pushed out and only certain sort of government-granted institution, the LCBO or Shoppers Drug Mart, should they basically take over the pot business that you've gone to arrest?
Don't worry, Evan. I'll never let it happen. I'll never let it. I've been fighting this for 26 years. I've seen 34 prisons and jails for marijuana. I'll see many more, but they will never, never have a monopoly of our oppressors selling marijuana to the people of Canada. Never.
Marc Emery, cannabis culture, marijuana activist, and now backer of Maxime Bernier. Mark, pleasure to have you on the program, sir, as always.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's my pleasure. Okay, folks. You can put your hands up. I don't care whether you disagree or agree with Mark. Mark, you can have all your, and I always encourage people to have their opinions. Some will like what he says, some will not like what he says. If you can find a more articulate speaker, though, for his point of view, go for it. Because you better get your bloody game on, because that guy is articulate. He is ready to go to prison for his beliefs. So you can disagree with him, but bring your A game, folks, because he's brought his. Jody Minnick's coming up. Justin Trudeau at 5 o'clock. We'll simulcast our good friend Don Martin on CTV's Power Play. He's got a live exclusive with Justin Trudeau's taking questions. We got so much on this program.
You're listening to Ottawa Now with Evan Solomon, live from Ottawa City Hall.